Good morning, everybody. You are in the right place at the right time. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. My name is Susu Duga. I am the PIN Programming Chair and a PIN Co-Chair along with my other half in the back, Shari Mendry. And I wanted to welcome you to our PIN Brunch. This is something that we've done for years, and COVID kind of threw us for a loop, so we're so glad to be doing this again. If you are a PIN board member, can you, or you have been volunteering with us for this semester, can you raise your hand? Look in the back, please. There are several of us around here. We do this, thank you. We do this for the love of our families, the love of your families, the love of our community, and it's all a volunteer organization. If this is something that you think has served your life well and your families, talk to one of us, we have name tags on, and let us know if you might be interested in joining our efforts to bring inspiring, educational, informative speakers here talking about education, parenting, and youth-related issues. How many of you know that we are on social media? Facebook, Instagram, is there another platform I'm missing? Twitter? No? Facebook and Instagram. So make sure you put that in your feed so you can follow what's going on, and please feel free to like anything that's posted or comment on it. We're trying to get the word out, as you'll see today, that this is an amazing resource that we've put together for you, and we would love for more people to benefit from this. How many of you have also responded to a survey, either last month when you were here in person or on the internet? We have a survey on pinccsd.org. We're planning for our topics and our presentations for next year, and this is your organization. You get to have input on what is on the agenda for next year. So if that matters to you, go onto the website and feel free to fill out that survey. There's little tent cards here on your table. You can, if you feel so moved today, you're welcome to donate to PIN. We work a lot on sponsorships. We have 2 sponsors. One is Happy Canyon Florals, who has provided these beautiful flowers today, which will be going home with 4 people today. And Chile Camp. Happy Canyon Flowers has been around for 40 years, about just a little under the amount of time that PIN has been around. Chile Camps is another sponsor, and they've been around for over 100 years, supporting our families and our children. So we are so thankful for our sponsors. If you happen to have a company, a business that you think aligns with the mission of PIN, talk to one of us. We would love to have you be a sponsor and let you know about the benefits of being a sponsor. You know, just as our kids all have different learning styles. We have some kids who are visual, some kids who are auditory, some kids who have to move, some kids who have to hear it 3 times, all in different ways. Some kids who work better if they speak it out loud, some kids who have to read it. All of our kids have different learning styles, and guess what? All of us do too. We have been working this year to provide you a learning experience of all this fantastic information that you can incorporate into your families by experiencing it in a different way. Today, you'll have a really unique experience. It's the first time ever that we've had this approach to a presentation. So I'm really so excited that y'all get to be privy to that. How many of you know that we have podcasts on our website? So, write it down somewhere, PINCCSD.org. You can look and access all of the podcasts, all of the recordings of past presentations, including today's. This will be put on the website next week after our evening presentation. Next Tuesday night, we will present this a little bit different, and we encourage all of you who have middle schoolers and high schoolers at your discretion to bring your kids to hear this presentation. You'll have the opportunity to listen to it today and see if this might be something that will really impact your child hearing it firsthand. But at any rate, today's presentation will be recorded and available to you towards the end of next week. There are not going to be any interruptions or questions during this presentation. We're going to let it flow. It's going to go about 80 minutes or so. We have we plan to go until 11:15 today. If you need to sneak out, feel free to sneak out. But we plan to go until 11:15. So I do want to thank a group of people who put this on their calendar today. You know who you are. Can you please stand up in the back there? We have our Board of Education members from Cherry Creek. I'll let you say your name.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation, and my name is Kristen Allen.
Hi, good morning. I am Kelly Bates. I'm the board president.
Good morning. My name is Angela Garland.
So how cool is that we have a school district that values our families and our parents and educating our families as well. Thank you for being here. All righty. Today we have this dynamic Okay, you got to stay till the end if you want to have the chance of the flowers. Okay? So I'm so excited about this. We got to get into this. Stand up for a minute. Everybody, come on. How many of you have high schoolers at home? Raise your hands. High. Okay, put them down. How many of you have kids past high school? Wow. How many of you have kids in middle school? Whew. How many of you have kids in elementary school? Wow, I am so excited. How many of you are so proactive that your kids still are in preschool or wearing diapers? Yes, come on, raise your hands. We know you're there. Thank you. Wow. Okay, y'all can have a seat. PIN is here for you with information that runs the gamut of your children's lives, of your family's lives. If this doesn't affect you right now, it will affect you at some time. It will affect someone you know and someone you love, one of your kids' friends, someone that you've been privileged to have the opportunity to speak into their lives. So thank you for being here. Today we have the dynamic mother-son duo who has made it their life's work to create a movement where parents and teens can honor each other and change their conversation and redefine their relationships into one that is healthy and is right for both of them. Carrie Stutzman, some of you may have heard her speak here with Penn before, is a licensed marriage and family therapist, a parent educator or parentologist, and she specializes in working with parents in the Denver area. That is when she's not traveling with her husband in the RV and coming up with 100 different campsites to stay at in the past 2 years over 32 states. One of her sons, Palmer Skudensky, her 24-year-old son is a youth success coach attending Northwestern's University Graduate School of Marriage and Family Therapy. He was that kid who just had to break the rules and rebel against his parents. Does that sound familiar to anybody? With ADHD and a knack for creating mischief, he is lucky to have survived all his past dangerous decisions. After a big interruption in his life, he has made it his life's work to help teen boys navigate with success and better decisions. So today, I bring to you the amazing Carrie and Palmer.
Six 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000, 10. The watchtower didn't see me. I pushed through the tall grass, feeling for the border fence. I look back at my hut. My runaway letter is written. My heart is pounding. I know I only have seconds before they raise the alarm. I put my hands through the cold metal of the fence. It has to be now. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry.
I hang up the phone. My beloved son might never talk to me again, like ever. But I know I have to do this. It might end up saving his life. In this one moment, I feel something rise up in me born of fear and love. It is bold, pure courage to make one of the most painful, disruptive decisions of my life. It's happening early tomorrow morning, and Palmer has no idea.
Let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to it, I promise. But first, we wanted to start by showing a little bit about ourselves and our plan for today before we get back to the story.
I'm Carrie. I'm the mom.
I'm Palmer. I'm the son. She's the mom I wanted nothing to do with.
He's the son I had no idea what to do with. Like, seriously, I was the mom who knew the dean's phone number from West Middle School by heart. And he's the son who broke the rules like it was a sport.
Yeah, those were not my best days. But now, here we are, not just as a youth life coach and family therapist, but as a teen and mom who have navigated some unfortunately tough teen years and have come out the other side, happy, connected, and closer than ever. To introduce ourselves, we're going to share a few fun facts about each other. For her, she loves to stock the pantry with this expired food, so much so, you think it's her personal hobby. She lives in an RV part-time with my stepdad, traveling around the country, working online in search of nature, forests, and adventure. She would pick pizza dinner night with the family every single week over dinner with her favorite celebrity. She loves it that much. And she will cry until she will laugh until she cries if she can manage to jump out and scare one of us boys.
Some fun facts about Palmer. He's the middle of my 3 boys, and he's the second in our blended family of 5 boys and 1 girl. He's traveled to over 55 countries, and he does a cold plunge every morning, like go outside and break the ice off the top and fully submerge himself kind of cold plunge. And he can do this impressive, stupid human trick of sticking a noodle through his nose and out his mouth and taking it back and forth. Like David Letterman totally would have had him on The Late Show for that stupid human trick.
All jokes aside, though, my mom is one of the first people, after my wife, who I call when I have a tough decision to make.
We chose to spend New Year's Eve together with our spouses.
When people say we have a great relationship, we breathe, we smile, and we soak it in, because it was not always this way.
Today, we plan to take you on a journey and share our story. It's pretty personal, and some of it might be hard to hear, but there's a reason that we're sharing our story. We're sharing it because we dodged the bullet of youth suicide. And we are sharing because of a horrific statistic that acute conflicts with parental figures precede 40% of suicide cases. We're not saying this to scare you. We're saying this because a good relationship with your teen isn't just a nice to have. It's a way to help them feel secure, loved, and safe as they navigate these tough teen years.
We're also sharing because we dodged the bullet of a disconnected, fractured family. On our journey through family upheaval, through a broken relationship, and over to a better place, we learned some powerful lessons and about how to be close as a mom and teenage son. On our journey, or now we are here on the other side, waving a flag of hope that no matter how hard things might get with your teen, there is always hope for a close, connected family. You might be stuck in the muck with your teen right now, or you might be in a sweet place, years away from that stage. Wherever you are, we hope that our story and what we learned is useful to you.
So today isn't about us doing all of the talking. You'll have a number of opportunities to do your own reflection and some sharing in the groups at your tables. We're going to teach 3 of the steps that we teach in our parent coaching groups that are part of our process to help parents and teens build a close, connected relationship. We're going to talk about the 2 sides of the story and what can happen when people are willing to pivot their perspective, change the conversation, and redefine the relationship. So will you please start by taking a moment and thinking about one of your kids whose relationship you're working on right now, who might be your toughest kid right now. And then we'd like you to keep that person in your mind for this whole talk. So instead of listening to it generally, just keep focused on that one relationship, if you would. And then you'll see on your tables, there's like a Mad Libs to fill out. And so throughout the course of the talk, we'll pause to fill out some of these different points, with the idea being that at the end, you have a letter written to that kid. So if you would now, in space number 1, write the name of the kid that you are thinking about. And then in space 2, write something that you love about this person. And if you need a pen, raise your hand and maybe we can get you one. You could use 2 more papers. So you need 2 more papers? And then you need a pen, is that right? Is there over here we need a pen. A pen right here. Thank you.
I know we still might be finishing those up, but sometimes even those sweet relationships with the people we love, there are the little things that can get under our skin and build up and feel big. So let's name those silly little things that drive us a bit nuts about that person we love so dearly. Write down a pet peeve you have about this kid. Before you do this, though, we'll give a couple examples to get us started. For me, one of my biggest pet peeves growing up was my mom's creative punishments. She would do this thing that when I'd get in trouble, which rarely happened, she would have me interview people and then write a paper about the things that I learned and all of the negative impacts of what I had done. I absolutely hated this because it was miserable and I hated writing, but now I find myself telling the parents of the kids I work with to do the exact same thing.
Can you imagine how good that makes me feel to hear that? My pet peeve about this kid is that he never answers his texts or answers the phone or calls me back. It's like so maddening. And then what's even worse about it is when he does call me, or like FaceTime me, I see his face, I hear his voice, and I'm so happy to see this sweet face that my heart melts and I can't even be mad at him. So now go ahead and in space number 3, write your pet peeve, something silly or something little that drives you nuts about this person.
Okay, now we'd like to give you a chance to introduce yourself to your neighbor if you haven't done so yet, and pair up. And if there's an odd number at the table, make a group of 3. With your neighbor, we'd like you to share out loud the name of the kid you're holding in mind today, and tell your neighbor what you wrote in spaces 2 and 3. We're going to give a little timer for this. It's going on.
Good job, Palmer. It is.
Something a good job? Great job.
I'm so happy I switched my layout this way. That works great.
Versus the, what do you mean? So. Yeah, right on it. We have time to do we can do the 2 and 3. Probably. Right? It's probably one time.
All right, you have about 15 seconds to wrap up. All righty, if you could bring your attention back here again, that would be great. So just for a little bit of entertainment, did anybody hear one at their table that was funny or worth sharing? Anybody want to? We'll just share a couple. There's one over there, Palmer.
So we found out that both of our kids don't like to take showers. Big surprise.
Love that.
That's a good, funny, and smelly one. That's great.
Yeah. Anybody else?
We found out that both of our sons put wrappers in the pockets of the couch.
Palmer, you never would have done such a thing, would you?
No, my car does not have wrappers in it currently, I promise.
Anybody else have one to share? All right, we wanted to name pet peeves in part because we can love someone like crazy and they can drive us a little bonkers at the same time, right? So in our line of work, we see parents and teens feeling stuck in their relationships all the time. I have my work as a parentologist and a licensed marriage and family therapist, and Palmer has his work as a youth success coach. And now we're collaborating with each other to help families find ways to create a close, connected family, even through the teen years. We want to rewrite the script that says that parents and teens have to be distant from each other and have tension in their relationships during the teen years. When there is tension between two people who love each other, they've often reached an impasse where each person stands on opposite sides of this bridge. Each one hangs on to the truth as they see it and desperately wants the other one to come to their side and see it through their lens. One sees it this way, the other sees it that way. And it's normal that each of us, just as a part of our own human nature, sees our life through our own perspective, through our own specific lens. So we write our story as we see it.
The first thing that we tell our clients is that you are right. Your story is real and true for you, and you have every right to the feelings that you experience. Parents and teens do this with each other, where they will see each other through a lens of judgment and conviction that the other person's view is dead wrong. To heal distance in a relationship, both parties have to walk towards each other. They have to weave a new story that is a combination of both people's perspectives. It means each of you has to walk to the other side of the bridge for a moment to have the courage to stand in the other's story. When you have the courage to do this, you are able to increase your empathy and mend the most important relationship that life has given you, your family.
So to share our story as authentically as possible, we're going to take you to a few moments to show you where we were and how we got to where we are today. I used to write Palmer a letter every year on his birthday that I then saved to give to him when he turned 18. And so you'll hear a mix of snippets from those letters and then also from my mothering journal that I used to keep. Dear Palmer, today is your first birthday. Watching you dig your fingers into your cake and taste icing for the first time, and the way that big, slow smile creeps across your face, and how you look at me first, my heart is so full I can feel it stretching. I don't ever want to forget the sound of your giggle or the feel of you perched on my hip. When I'm rocking you to sleep at night, I sing a song from one of my favorite books, hoping the words will travel to your soul and live there forever. And I'm really only a singer in the shower and in the rocking chair, so bear with me. I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my Palmer you'll be. Dear Palmer, you're 5 now. You will not wear a button-up shirt unless it's an Aloha shirt. No stripes, no jeans, only sweats. You don't like kisses the way you used to, and you'll wipe them off. You still think your socks are more comfortable if Mommy puts them on. You have a big, strong body and a tender, sensitive soul. Rejection and harsh words hurt you more than they hurt others, but not as much as it hurts me when you experience them. When you say, I want Mommy to do it, and you look for me first when you make a new discovery, I feel so much love from you and for you. Dear Palmer, How did you get to 10 so fast? I feel like I blinked and that little bundle of energy grew into a boy who loves cheeseburgers and watching Survivor, who hates beans, and I'm pretty sure you would trade one of your brothers for more Game Boy time. I see a temper in you that is short and hard for you to control. Your strong will can be so challenging right now. Dear Palmer, you're 15, and it's too hard to write these things down. It's like every day is something new, something hard that you think I've done wrong. Every single thing is a battle. Where did that precious little boy go who always looked for me first? Now you barely look at me at all, and when you do, it's filled with hatred. I can't protect you from what's going on in your world. Our rooms are so close together, so close to each other, and yet I have never felt so far from you. The scary thing is that I can feel you slipping, and I can feel my grasp loosening. When I put my hand on the doorknob to wake you up in the mornings, I take a deep breath and hope that you are still breathing. I've tried everything I know. I walk on eggshells around you. How do I convince you of the truth when you have been told that I am the enemy? As long as I'm living, my Palmer you'll be.
Let's pause here and come up for air. Where are you with your kids? The sweet happy times, the easy phase, and the grind of hard times? Which of the journal entries do you relate to most? How are you feeling as you hear these? We all have our own experiences, and they're different with each kid. But it does seem like most of us experience the same things to varying degrees. I also want to take a minute to step into what my 15-year-old self was experiencing. While every person at this age has different experiences, family dynamics, struggles, and support systems, I know that what I was feeling wasn't too out of the ordinary from many other teens. My parents saw things from the outside, my defiance, my struggles in school, my unhappiness. They could have asked me how I was doing 100 times, and I would have said I'm fine every single time. But there was still so much I kept inside and tried to carry on my own. Even though I had friends I felt close to, I still felt alone because I didn't know if I could share it. But what mattered is that my mom didn't give up. And her not giving up laid the foundation for the relationship that we now have as adults. There were many days, weeks, and even years where it felt like my life was covered in this gray haze, and everything felt a little dull. It felt like there I was, a younger version of myself, watching my life be lived out in front of me, and there was nothing that I could do. People see what's on the surface, and they assume that that's it. But they don't see the little kid underneath it screaming and crying because he is so afraid. I wanted someone to know how I felt, and I didn't know how much longer I could hold on. But I didn't feel like I could ever get the words out. And if I'm being honest, it didn't really feel like anyone cared. That gray haze went well beyond the horizon. I hadn't seen light for so long that I started to think that it didn't even exist. I had no hope, and I felt like my life was slipping further and further away. My parents were in a brutal divorce. My dad would tell me that my mom was trying to put him in jail. I was constantly in fear of losing the pillar I had built my beliefs on, my dad. I felt like I had no option but to distance myself from my mom to try to protect what I had. And while this may sound like an extreme situation, through my work, I've had a surprising amount of kids share with me that they have felt the same gray haze over their life and felt so alone with these thoughts, even though they know their parents would do anything for them. Whether there are a few clouds in the sky or there is a hurricane blocking out every trace of light, these feelings that these kids are experiencing need attention and support. And it breaks my heart thinking about how many people, and especially kids, experience this. This reality has become fuel for my fire more than anything else. I am so passionate about helping kids find their fire for life and get to the other side of their gray clouds, no matter the size.
Dear Palmer, Today, my entry is not about you. It's actually about me. Somehow, I seem to have gotten lost in this story. I had forgotten that in my quest to help you find your happy, that I too am worthy of happiness. I'm learning how to not make your mood be my mood. I'm learning how to separate how you feel about me from how I feel about myself. Watching my divorce explode around us all has left a lot of broken pieces that I can't put back together. We have the gift of this life, and I don't want to waste it. I love you, Palmer. I will do all I can to be there for you. And I also need to attend to my own well-being and do my own inner work. Dear Palmer, you're 16 now, and this letter is probably the hardest I will have to write. Every night I lie in bed and try to figure out how to get to a better place with you, for you. I am willing to do anything, try anything, to find that sweet boy I know is in there. I do see tiny glimpses of that version of you every now and then. Nobody told us in the parenting books that it would be this hard, that there would be no clear path, no clear answers, that the pain of parenting could rock me to my core, that I won't know the right thing to say, and even if it's the right thing, that you won't receive it with the love that I intend. I can see the anger you've bottled up. It spills out onto others, especially onto me and our family. And it makes me mad. I wish you treated the family the way you treated your friends. And my heart is broken that I can't show you a bright, happy, sunny world where divorcing parents act like they're supposed to. I get that your world is out of control between me and your dad, and you don't know what to do with your anger. Oh, the things you say to me. I love you so much, but it is really hard to like you right now. And it's even harder to see you not like yourself. It's painful to watch that once inquisitive boy give up on school, give up on scouts, on sports, on youth group, on family, give up on life. Sometimes in a rare moment, I still see that slow smile creep across your face, but it's rarely me that puts it there. I wonder if there will ever be a day you look at me first again, or at all. I am tormented with making one huge decision. Is this bad enough that I need to send you away to residential treatment? It will turn your world upside down. Am I strong enough to do this? What if you hate me forever? But what if I'm wrong? What if I don't have the courage? What if I'm wrong the other way and you end your life? I hang up the phone. You, my beloved son, might never talk to me again. Like, not ever. But I know I have to do this. The strong, sure words of one wise person changed everything. She said, Carrie, it's bad enough. They are words you never heard, but they might end up making all the difference in your life. For all I know, those words might end up saving your life. I know that my life is about to change forever. In this one moment, I feel something rise up in me born of fear and love. It is bold, pure courage to make one of the most painful, disruptive decisions of my life. It is happening early tomorrow morning, and you have no idea. My hope and prayer is that you look back one day and read these words and know that I never gave up on you. I never stopped loving you. And even though I have to let you go, if I'm ever going to have any hope of getting you back. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
We're going to take some time for personal reflection before I tell you my side of the story. We invite you to jot down one challenge that you have with your toughest kid in space 4 on your sheet. And while you do that, we'd also like you to circle whichever of those emotions feel most true to you. And if it's all of them, circle all of them. Dear Journal, it's day 1. I can't believe this actually happened. My mom came in to wake me up at 6:30 like always, and I told her to F off. She said, "Palmer, I love you too much to not do what it takes to help you get to a better place." Yeah, right. Then I called her well, I'm not going to even say that. 2 minutes later, some dude walked into my room and told me to pack my clothes because he was taking me to a treatment center, and he was going to get me there one way or another. And now here I am, by myself, locked up in a treatment center. How in the world can this be my life? The therapist here is telling me I should be journaling, as if that's going to do anything for me. But honestly, at this point, what the hell do I have to do otherwise? This place is terrible and full of people I can't stand. I cannot believe my mom sent me here. But at the same time, it seems like just the evil thing she would do. Dad is right. She really is a horrible person. This writing my journal is great. It really helps me think about how shitty this all is. Dear Journal, it's day 9. I still feel in shock that I was taken from my house on my mom's orders. I don't know why I didn't just slip out my window and run when that guy walked into my room. I knew I should have killed myself the night before, instead of waiting one more day. If I had gone through with it, it would already be over, this nightmare that is my life. But somehow now it's worse than it ever was before. It's her fault that I'm here. It's her fault Dad went to jail. It's all her fault. I did have that one moment the morning I got picked up. The guy left me alone in my room to pack, and I stood in front of my window thinking about running. I had my chance. Why didn't I run? Dear Journal, it's day 13. The therapist here told me I have to be here for 30 days. I told them if it's one day more than 30, I'm going to kill myself. I'll use that glass light bulb up there above my head. I'll play their game for now, but after day 30, I'm out of here. I hate my mom. My dad is in jail, and I hate that this is the life I'm supposed to live. Day 22. There is this one worker. His name is Alex, and I've actually enjoyed my conversations with him. He is just staff, which is essentially a glorified babysitter. But he's been the only person I've even remotely enjoyed talking with. I feel like he doesn't have some sort of agenda, and he knows I'm skeptical of adults telling me what to do because of how terrible my mom is. But he shows up as himself, and he helps me feel understood. I know it's not a part of his job because none of the other staff put in half as much effort as he does. I feel like he just genuinely cares. Dear Journal, it's day 25. I've been getting a little bit closer with Alex. He really is not too bad. I feel like he gets me. He doesn't talk to me like I'm a kid, but he is a big believer in tough love. I just like having someone to talk to about all of this. Alex asked me if I still felt like killing myself, and I realized I hadn't thought about it for a few days, and I honestly don't know the last time I went a whole day without thinking about it. I'm not sure how happy I'm in my own life, but maybe my life could mean something to someone else. Like to those kids I met on that mission trip to Nicaragua. I feel like I made a difference in their lives, even if it was just for a few weeks. What if I did more of that? Dear Journal, it's day 28 now. Alex said something to me that I just can't shake off. He said that he read my 285-page file because my story wasn't adding up for him. He shared with me that the story I was telling myself might not be the reality of the situation. And at first I got mad. Like maybe he was calling me a liar or saying I didn't have a right to be mad. But then, when I calmed down, I thought about what he was saying. He knew I saw things from my dad's perspective. That was very clear. So then he talked me through how things might have looked from my mom's side of things. I'd never considered that before. I mean, I've imagined and I've wondered how she could do the terrible things that she has done, but not really trying to see her as a human who has her own story as well. It was really weird, like some almost out-of-body experience. I was looking at the world through my mom's eyes, which I certainly had not done before. Alex says that we all face situations and then we write our own story of that, own version of that story. And often this story isn't really based on facts, but just the way that we see it. It's our opinion. Like when my mom acts a certain way, for example, when she would call the police to enforce parenting time. I write a story that she hates me and was trying to keep me away from my dad for no good reason. Alex says that this is me writing a story, not the reality. He asked me what I believe to be true about my mom, about my dad. And then he reminded me that there may be things that we leave out when we only look at the story from our point of view. He said how my past has been written, but if I want, I can write my future. And that really stuck with me. Dear Journal, it's day 31. Alex asked me what I'm wanting my life to look like. I know that I want to be the person who writes my story. My years of depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, anger, and terrible grades are part of my story, but only get to take up as much of it as I allow. Alex said, nobody will ever come in and make it all better and make up for the pain you have been in. That's on you. And I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Dear Journal, it's been 5 weeks since I was taken from my house. What a waste of my sophomore year summer. I wonder what my friends are doing, what adventures, what parties they're having. Anyways, I had the weirdest dream. It was just like I was back there. I had forgotten all about that day. Was it 3rd grade or 4th grade? I'm not sure. But I can still remember when she woke me up and said we were skipping school today. Skipping school? Was this really my mom? She said to make a list of all of my favorite things and we were going to go do them. So of course, we started with Krispy Kreme donuts for breakfast. Then we went to Cattail Park where we sat at a bench while we ate candy and she showed me Harry Potter. And I'm pretty sure it was the Goblet of Fire. Then Macaroni Grove for lunch, and then we played cards all afternoon. Later at family dinner, she gave me a wink. That day was our little secret. How much fun we'd had on my ditch day. I remember how I didn't want the day to end. Maybe she wasn't always as bad as Dad said. Then that was it. I woke up. I wouldn't have said I blocked out all the good memories with my mom, but until reliving that day, I couldn't have recalled a single one. And honestly, it made me angry and sad. Angry that our relationship had slipped away since, but also sad that a small part of me felt like it wasn't completely her fault.
My dear, sweet Palmer, my heart is broken. You were gone at the treatment center. Did I do the right thing? The house feels so empty and quiet without you here. I'm thinking about you every moment. I wonder what you're doing. Are you finding your way back to who you really are? I'm working with my parent coach and therapist to find my best version of me for you to come home to. The quiet is hard, although the truth is that it's nice to have an exhale from all the tension. Still, I feel you missing like a hole in my heart. I keep hitting rewind and playing back moment after moment, wondering if I could have done this, should have done that. Would a different of choice taken us down a better path? I'm learning not to should on myself so much. I'm just an imperfect human. My intentions are good. There are no perfect answers in any family situation. I loved you. I showed up. I made the best decisions I knew how to make at that moment with the information that I had. I was walking today in Cattail Park, where you and I went on one of our ditch days, and I had this fleeting thought, this little, I wonder moment. I imagined to the other side of this hard spot we're in now, and I wondered if perhaps in all this mess, we might find something good, a reason for all this pain, something that we can use to help others. I don't know, but I do know that I will continue to show up. I will be here even if you don't look at me first anymore. I will still do the best thing I know to do for you, even if you can't see it today. Maybe one day you'll get to read this and see the love that I have always had for you. Maybe one day, when you hold your own child, you will get how much you have been loved. I really hope I'm included in your one day. As long as I'm living, my Palmer you'll be.
Dear Journal, it's day 65 now. I got a letter from my mom. She says she misses me, but I'm not really sure that I believe her. She said something weird in her letter, how on her walk this morning, she had a flashback to our ditch day, as she sat at the same bench where she read me Harry Potter. How weird is that? And how she had this vision of us one day maybe using the brokenness of our story to help other families. Very weird. But not the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It could be the way that I incorporate what I loved about my mission trip, helping others by walking alongside them. I'm surprised it came from my mom. I told Alex that evening, and he said I should probably be cutting her some slack.
Dear Journal, this is so hard. The waiting. Palmer's therapist at the treatment center says that it took Palmer and me a while to get to this place, and it will take a while to get out. I'd prefer a quick fix, honestly. An instant solution. I'm just so anxious to get him back and have him be happy. To have him look at me and smile again is something I long for. They say he's making progress, and that will have to be enough for today. Trust the process, his therapist keeps telling me. Trust the process.
Dear Journal, it's day 85. I leave tomorrow. I am well past day 30, but that glass light bulb is still up there, and I never had to use it. And I've learned that I will never have to, because I am the one who is in charge of how I respond to my life. And that's what really matters. No matter how hopeless I may feel, I have the power to change my life. My mom and I have agreed that we both have a lot of work to do. And I'm sure that will be a lot easier said than done. But things are different. I have hope. Not many families have stories about jail and residential treatment, but we all have opportunities to find the courage to change our perspective and do something disruptive in our lives.
When Palmer came home, he was in a better place. He was no longer a risk to himself. But for the two of us, that's when the real work started on our relationship. While 12 weeks in residential treatment was part of our unique story, at the end of the day, we still had our own work to do to rebuild our relationship that had been so shattered. We want to share what the work was with you. We want to share what our work was with you so that you can implement it now and hopefully avoid some of the heartache and disruption that we went through. We still had his junior and senior years in high school to get through. We still had to walk across the bridge to see each other's perspective. We had to show who we really were, a scared mom, a boy who wanted to live, a boy who was able to shift his view, a mom who learned how to shift her view and change the conversation. When we look back at our journey from so much distance to so much closeness, we realize there have been 3 things that each of us did that helped us rebuild what had been a broken relationship. So even if your relationship isn't broken, we hope that this is helpful.
Before we share what we learned, we want each of you to take a moment to reflect on what ways you and your kid are standing on opposite sides of the bridge. We want you to think about what things might look like from your kid's perspective. if you were able to look into their journal or into their mind, what do you think they would say is their biggest conflict in their relationship with you?
For example, from my perspective, I looked at Palmer and thought he was struggling with anger management and lack of motivation. But what we learned in hearing his side of the story was that he was struggling with depression, suicidal thoughts, and his world felt out of control.
Another example I recently saw with a client of mine was that my client's dad shared with me that his son, my client, wasn't taking anything seriously and he was unmotivated in school. However, the kid shared with me that his dad put so much pressure on him and that he kept comparing him to his siblings even though school for him was so much harder and he felt like it was just an unattainable goal. With those examples in mind, take a minute to fill out space 5. There is a significant amount of research that talks about family closeness being beneficial for children's well-being. A quote that stuck with me from grad school is parent-child connectedness is associated with a wide range of health indicators. Close, positive family relationships that feature open communication help young people stay healthy and avoid substance use, poor psychological health, risky sexual behaviors, and violent relationships. Family warmth and support, along with family management practices, can also play a role in positive developmental outcomes such as emotional regulation, curiosity, and adaptive coping.
We want to create a movement where both teens and parents are honored and seen as learners in the process of navigating the adolescent years. We both work with parents, teens, and families every day, and we hear their pain points, their longing to be close to the people that mean the world to them.
The model we're going to share with you today comes from our deeply personal experience from what we've gone through, as well as what we have watched and learned from the people that we work with.
In Palmer's journal entries, you can hear the transformation that he made as he learned to pivot his perspective and see things differently. Well, I didn't get to just send him off and have him get fixed. Nope. I had my own part in our dynamic, and I had to make a number of shifts too. The first one is to pivot the perspective. Through a child's development, each stage is different with different tasks for the child to complete. As parents, we naturally adjust to meet our kids' needs. When they're newborns and need us all up at all hours of the night, we do that. And I just have to insert that right now, as we're speaking, his big brother and my oldest son are in the hospital with my son's wife, in the birth process with my first granddaughter, his first niece. So it's just kind of a sweet little thing that's happening. Can't wait to hear the word. With infants, we experiment until we find the right position, the right bounce, the right rock, right? You all know your move that you used to do with your babies that worked for them. I used to find myself in the grocery store, even when the baby wasn't there, and I'd just be standing there doing the bounce because I spent so many hours doing it. When they're toddlers, we adjust and we do whatever it takes to keep them safe. It's just the beginning of ways that we keep shifting according to the needs of our children. Raising kids is a never-ending series of adjustments on our part to meet the changing developmental needs of our kids. Every one of those stages is sweet and challenging in its own way. Am I right? Yeah. When our kids hit adolescence, we know that part of our job is to get them ready to launch. I love the quote, we're not raising children, we're raising adults. The end game is to prepare our children to function in the adult world. Let's talk about our kids' brains for just a minute. I think it's good for helping have empathy for them. The National Institute of Mental Health says, although the brain stops growing in size by early adolescence, the teen years are all about fine-tuning how the brain works. The brain finishes developing and maturing in the mid to late 20s. The part of the brain behind the forehead, called the prefrontal cortex, is one of the last parts to mature. This area is responsible for skills like planning, prioritizing, and making good decisions. The list of skills that kids need to acquire during adolescence is impressively long. So between the ages of 11 or 12 and 24 and 25, they need to master abstract thinking, impulse control, problem solving, decision making, judgment, emotional regulation, frustration tolerance, and ability to feel empathy. Our kids need us to pivot our perspective and see them as their own individuals doing the challenging work of morphing into adults. We can do this. Why? Because we've done it through every other stage of their lives. If your kid can blow their nose and get themselves dressed, you have living proof that you are good at adjusting to their needs as they develop. We've got this. A key piece I see in work with parents, as well as my own experience, especially with Palmer, was how I had to pivot my perspective. And I realized that in order to give my kid the love and support that he needed, I had to do my own growing. I had to learn to tolerate more distance and more rejection from him. Disrespect? No. Distance and independence? Yes. I'm not saying this was easy. So 3 quick tips for pivoting the perspective. Number 1 is don't ride the wave. If Palmer was grumpy in the mornings, which he often was, I ended up being grumpy. But raise your hand if you want to have your teenager's mood swings be the source of your moods. No hands, right? Not a good idea. But I did that for a while. A mantra that can be helpful here is the mood of my 15-year-old, or fill in the blank, whatever age, the mood of my 15-year-old is not the source of my well-being. Or I can have a good day even if my kid is not. Our kids need us to be able to hold on to ourselves and find our center so that we can be a solid home base for them to lean into on their own timing, not the other way around where they lead our moods.
We're going to give you a quick moment to fill in space 6. How might your writing of your kid's mood affect them?
Like an example that I experienced a lot was if Palmer was mad and upset, then I let that turn me into a grumpy, bratty mom. I mean, I was acting more like a grumpy, bratty teenager. And then I would be putting the burden on him by creating this more stressful environment of having a mom who was acting like a bratty teenager.
So go ahead and do 6 now.
All right, tip 2 for pivoting the perspective is to invite and expect rejection. This relates to being a grown-up with our teens. I felt like I had to do a lot of work to not act like a teenager with my teens, but to act like a grown-up with my teens. In a family research project that I worked on, I heard teens talk about wanting their parents to want to spend time with them and to know who they are as their own individuals. And they wanted to have a choice about showing up. So an approach that I found helpful with Palmer was to invite and expect rejection. The goal in this is to have our arms open in a warm, welcoming stance. So if we invite our kids in to spend time, we invite our kids to spend time with us. Do you want to grab lunch? Do you want to stop at Starbucks? Whatever it is. If they opt in, we show up lovingly. If they opt out, we don't make them pay the price of our rejection by acting like rejected teenagers ourselves. Not that you guys would do that, but I know that I struggled with that sometimes. We think of it as a deposit in the bank account of our parent-teen relationship, and we just send a loving message if they say no, if they reject us or reject our invitation. We send a loving message like, no worries, just know I love you. I'll ask again. Or just know I love being with you. I'll ask again. Tip 3, I think it's important to give ourselves permission to grieve. As fun and wonderful and awesome as it is to watch our kids grow, it's also sad when we go from being their most beloved center of their world to something that sometimes feels like the complete opposite of that. It's sad when it hits us that they actually are trending towards growing up and leaving home. It's good, it's normal, it's the way of things. But that doesn't mean that we don't miss the sweetness of the love and affection we experienced when they were little.
What do you miss most about when your kid was little? We're going to give you a moment to fill in space 7 to answer that question.
Now we're going to give you a little bit of time to talk amongst or talk with your partner. So if you can split into either pairs, or if you have an odd number, do 2 and 3, and just discuss with each other the questions that are on the screen right now.
All right, let's take 15 more seconds. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it drifts. All right, bringing it back in. Nobody wants to get sent to the dean, do they? That would be bad. Thank you. As a teenager, it's easy to feel like your circumstances are unfair, like you were dealt a bad hand and there's no hope of getting out of it. I have definitely felt that way. I had to pivot my perspective and realize that I was in charge of my life. I could change my life's trajectory. I could choose to be angry and mad at life, mad at my parents, but then I'd live in this bitter world. Or I could choose a different path, one that led to a better life. That doesn't mean that things would magically change, but the decision of choosing to write my own story helped me let go of some of the anger that I was holding on to and slowly build towards something better. At the very beginning of this talk, I started to share a moment from my time at the treatment center when I was standing at the fence about to run away. This was on day 29. I want to take us back there for just a moment because it may have been my biggest grab life by the reins moment. It was where I first really realized the power I had of deciding who would write my story. Had it been 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute? I didn't know. It felt like my entire past, present, and future was condensed down to one moment, and it was all flashing before my eyes. My hands tightened around the metal fence. I knew I'd have a head start before they came for me. You could make it, I thought. Do it. Run. Go. As I went to climb, I heard this bizarre voice come from deep down inside my chest saying, "But what if you don't? What if you stay? Will this really be you writing your story, or would it be your past writing your future? Because you were too afraid to turn and face it. The pain you're running from won't stop at this fence. It'll be with you forever, no matter how fast you run." It said, what if you started taking control of your life in every way that you can and started writing your own story instead of letting your pain and emotions be the author? You could. You could do it, I thought. Tears are pouring down my face. I'm so scared. If I run, it would be my decision. But if I stay, not only would it be mine, but I'll be taking a stand against my past. I'm not going to run anymore. I won't be defined by my past and let others shape my future. This is my life. As the sun tucked behind the horizon, my hands let go of the fence, I walked back to my hut and let what happened sink in. And no one knew I was gone, almost forever.
Pivoting our perspective was the first thing that Palmer and I both did to start shifting our relationship to a better place. The second step we both realized we did, now that we look back in the rearview mirror, is to change the conversation. Parents, guilty, tend to act like we're entitled to know what's going on with our kids. And when they're little, it's 100% true. We know everything that's going on with them. But as our kids get older, they can ice us out of their inner worlds. And if we want to maintain access to how to know how they are doing, we need to change the conversation that we have with them. Instead of grilling them about their day, we might start creating open conversation like we would with a friend. This is often a very different way than how we talk to our kids. There's a tip sheet on the table that you can use, or you can download a QR code from up here or from on that postcard that has a whole bunch of QR codes on it. You can stick it in your wallet or on the dash of your car or wherever it might come in handy. So when your kid shares something with you and you want to keep the door of conversation open, here are some things to keep in mind.
The first one is to think calm and curious. What matters most is that you listen.
Tip 2 is to match their emotion so that they feel seen, heard, and cared for. So if they come storming in with something they're upset about, if we want them to feel seen by us, we can match them with that emotion by saying something like, "Oh my gosh, you're kidding. Oh, that's terrible." We're just matching them. We're not judging it. We're not evaluating. We're just matching. Or if they come in and they're sad about something, we can match their sad so that they feel seen. We can be like, "Oh man, that is so sad." Just matching them.
Tip 3 is do not give unasked for advice. You all seem like wonderful, smart people, and you might have the best advice in the world to give, but if you give it to a teenager who doesn't ask for it, it's only going to create distance.
Tip 4 is to ask inviting questions. So some examples would be, do you want to share more? Remember, it's a privilege if they share with you. It's not our right. What was that like for you? What are you thinking about it? Not, well, here's what I'm thinking about what's going on, but what are you thinking about this? What do you see as your options? This sends a message that we're not launching into telling them what we think they ought to do. That would be shooting on them, and that's not something the people in this room do. Is there a way I can support you? This is us assuming that it's not our problem to solve. We assume it's their problem and that we're here to offer support if they want it. How does that impact you? We may be screaming inside of our heads about all the impact that might be happening from whatever they're talking about. But on the outside, the words we want to let out is, how does that impact you? And then this one is, I'm in a good place to listen without, and then you get to fill in the blank at whatever you're working on or need to work on. So for me, it might be like, I'm in a good place to listen without lecturing. Or I'm in a good place to listen without giving unasked for advice. Or I'm in a good place to listen without taking it over and doing all the talking. So whatever habit you're trying to break with your teen, you might as well name it because they know that you do it. And you can let them know that this is a free zone, free from our normal patterns. The biggest challenge that I see with parents of teens in my therapy practice is how reactive they/we can get. They blow up, and it causes distance and leaves the kid feeling uncomfortable sharing. But I believe that by and large, kids want to feel able to talk to us. One of the most common quotes we got in my research project when we asked teens, what do you wish your parents knew, was, I want to feel close to you, even if I don't act like it.
Noodle on that. What if we could tell you for sure that your kid was thinking, I want to feel close to you, even if I don't act like it? How would that change the way that you act around them?
Kids who were surveyed also said, I don't want to feel like a project of yours. What if we held ourselves to the standard of treating our teens like we would treat someone else outside of our family whose relationship we value? What if we shifted and focused on our teens as human beings instead of human doings? If we want to change the conversation with our teens so that they will talk to us, we have to listen. We can still teach our values. We can still have rules and consequences. And at the same time, we can honor that our kids are figuring this out for themselves. Some key words in changing the conversation are more love, less judgment, and less unasked for advice giving.
Do you want to know a commonality that I have seen with so many of the teens that I work with, and even myself as a teenager? Sometimes before you even say a word, when you have just knocked on their door, they've gone into defense mode. And then as soon as they're in that mindset, the first words out of your mouth are an attack. The advice you're giving feels like a criticism. The invitation to dinner sounds like a command. The talk about grades, chores, whatever it is, it feels like an ambush to them. While teens can come across tough and all grown up, deep inside, they still usually need patience, grace, sweetness, and playfulness. Think about when your teenager was a little kid and you watched them eat their veggies. You likely playfully pretended that the spoon of lukewarm mashed broccoli was a big, exciting airplane that had to land into their mouth. Or maybe you ate a bite yourself to show them that it was basically as good as ice cream. You were patient with them as they learned the importance of eating vegetables, even when they didn't want to. Teens are no different. They're in a phase of constantly growing, learning, and evolving. And they might need you to try the airplane method when it comes to helping them navigate this new stage of life. It will certainly require a big dose of grace, sweetness, playfulness, and patience. We want to take another moment for you to reflect on this and fill in space 8. How does this apply to the relationship you're thinking of? How might you change the conversation? We've put some examples on the screen for you to reference.
All right. So pivoting the perspective is the personal, individual shift that needs to be made through pivoting one's own perspective. Then we've also talked about in step 2 in our process, which is the shift that needs to be made in the relationship between us and our kids through changing the conversation. Excuse me. Now we're going to talk about the third and final step in our process, which is the systemic shift that is needed to create a healthy, close relationship between a parent and a child. The third step is to redefine the relationship. So I like to think about it this way. Like, imagine that this is the parent, and this is the child, and the stick is the relationship between the two. So, like, hopefully by the end of the day, when my son Keaton and his wife Lizzie have a brand new baby, they will have all the decision making, all the power, right? They're the only ones with agency with this little tiny newborn. That's how we all were with our newborns, right? And then maybe if we're really lucky and we get to live a long life and we have loving kids who take care of us, maybe by the end it changes. And they are the ones that have agency, that have authority, that are making decisions, they're the ones taking care of us, and we may have less of that. The middle years are where we're both adults, right? Like we both are making our own decisions, we're both making our own lives, we both take care of ourselves, like the stage that Palmer and I are in right now. And this stage is really the longest one, right? This could last decades, hopefully many decades. The part that I think is tricky sometimes is the shift. So if we start like this, how do we get to here? What does that take to make this pivot, right? So as kids get a little bit bigger and like they start putting on their own clothes, they start being responsible for their homework. They start choosing which sports or activities they want to do, right? They start taking on a little more independence. But the teenage years are the ones where we go from about like here to here, right? There's a pivot in the relationship. And notice the teens are not the only ones making a shift. This is when we also are making a shift. This is why we say we want parents and teens to be honored as learners. through the adolescent years, because it takes us shifting, giving our kids more space, honoring that they have their own politics, religion, values, honoring that they're figuring out their own relationships with drugs, alcohol, achievement, all those things. We have to give them space so that they can come into adulthood. So for our process, instead of seeing Palmer as my little boy who I had been the boss of, or I thought I was, for 16 years, I wasn't actually with that one, but I had to redefine the relationship and start to see these years as the years where I was laying down the foundation for our upcoming adult relationship. I had to give him space, and I needed to respect him as his own emerging adult. It was a shift away from feeling entitled to knowing everything about his life, and really feeling like it was an honor if he chose to share it with me. A few key words in redefining the relationship: no more entitlement to their inner world, more polite requesting, less directing and demanding. Practice for college at home. Like, I wanted my kids, when they were leaving home out into the big wide world of college or life beyond living at home, I wanted them to be like, oh, I recognize this world. I practice for it at home. And I feel statements. They always have a place, but I think they especially have a place as we honor that our kids are turning into adults, where we can start to reveal a little bit more of who we are as people. Not just the parents who know everything or that sort of mindset, but we share a little more of ourselves.
We'd like you to jot down what you hope your adult relationship will look like with your child in Space 9. We've also left some space at the end for you to write a closing to your letter. We're going to give you a couple minutes to finish this up. You go to the last slide. That one? A little bonus time. Okay. I want to take a moment. This is, might get in trouble. But when I look out and see all of you parents here, I just get excited thinking about there being 50 or 100 parents that are here to be better for their kids and just better for themselves. And so I just feel so much love and excitement for you guys and all of your families. And now you have a letter that you can give to your kid if you want to. You can keep it for yourself, whatever it is. you now have it. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for all being here. We're not done. I was just feeling it.
But we're almost done.
Yes, getting close. The process we just talked about is CPR. I think we're going to, okay. Change the conversation, pivot the perspective, and redefine the relationship. And if there's anything you can take away from all of this, it's that we hope you do CPR with your family. This method we shared is a piece of the process we have created to help families find connection. We have a lot in mind that we would like to offer to parents of teens. If you would like to stay in the loop and be a part of this movement, please join our list by scanning the QR code on the screen. And this is not just a list. This is an invitation to start a two-way conversation. We want to hear from you guys and how we can be helpful in navigating these tricky teen years and just as you raise your kids.
Before we wrap up, there's one more journal entry I just have to share. Dear Palmer, wow, here we are. It's August 13th, 2022. You're 24 years old. I'm watching the best ever version of you stand up there at the altar, tenderly holding the hands of your best friend, who's also your new wife. I have a front row seat. I am so profoundly grateful that I have a front row seat. All these moments come flashing back, moments I refer to as after the disruption. You came home that summer taller than me, by a lot. The moment you showed me your highest GPA ever. Watching you work hard to get into college and then into grad school for marriage and family therapy. Who would have seen that coming? Watching you step into this beautiful, loving version of yourself. I see the tender side of you emerging in how you treat others. I see your joy in choosing a career focused on serving others, helping families be closer and more connected. And there she is, Annabelle. She's sitting right over here. Her hands in yours, promising to love you forever. You look at her first, just the way it should be. As you get ready to walk back down the aisle, married now, I see that bright smile spread across your face. Your eyes turn to find me. My heart catches. As long as I'm living, my Palmer you'll be.
Dear Journal, wow, it's my wedding day. That sounds so weird. Younger me certainly never thought I would get somewhere like this. Happy, marrying my best friend at the grad school of my dreams, working my dream job of getting to walk alongside teenagers, helping them become the authors of their own lives, showing them that things are good on the other side of that mountain, things worth living for, and things worth fighting for. But back to my wedding. There's my mom, front and center, smiling like crazy. She keeps crying even while she's smiling, very typical of her. I feel bad about what I put her through, but she has forgiven me, and I have forgiven her. We've forgiven ourselves, and we have found peace. And who knew she'd become my second best confidant? I tell her everything. Well, almost everything. She was right, though, all those years ago when she sent me that letter about how she had that vision in the park, that maybe one day we would tell our story and help others strengthen their family relationships, that from our pain, we could find our purpose and our peace.
So this is our soul work, working together to support parents in creating a family that kids will want to come home to. We're putting together a coaching program to really walk through this journey with parents of teenagers. If you're interested in learning more, there's a QR code up there and then also on the postcard so that you can get more information about our parent coaching program. We aim to start June 1st and meet on Thursdays, and it'll be online. And we're wide open to hearing from you what would be helpful in such a program. Also, we would love to hear your feedback and takeaway from today. So as you leave, if you're game to share, David, my husband over there, can you stand up so they can see who you are? And Annabelle, will you stand up? They're going to have phones with them so that if you have some takeaway that is positive, that you are willing to share with others, they would love to just capture it on a little video. And it would mean so much to us. From both of our hearts. Wait, do we want to say anything about email?
Well, yeah, one of the things that I think is so helpful about groups like this and just, having community in the similar stage of life, if there's anyone in here that is wanting to just ask questions, to learn more, to get support from us, encouragement, or just chat and have an excuse to, make coffee and go sit on the couch, our contact info is somewhere on those sheets, and I would be just more than happy to hop on a call, talk through stuff, share memories, share advice, and just give some ideas as to what might be helpful. And I know she'd be more than happy to do the same.
So, and if you join our list, it's not just an email list, it's a conversation so that we can communicate back and forth. So we invite you to scan the QR code on that sheet and maybe up here to join our list, to join the conversation. So from both our hearts, we want to support you in creating a close, connected family where everyone feels seen, honored, and loved, and a family that the kids want to come home to. So thank you for letting us share our story. I'm Carrie. I'm the mom.
I'm Palmer. I'm the son. She's the mom I feel lucky to have.
He's the son I'm grateful for and that I love to the moon and back.
Wow, take a deep breath, huh? Just don't know what to say after all that. That was just amazing. Thank you again, Carrie and Palmer. Wow. Okay, I think we have a few minutes before 11:15. If there are a few questions you want to entertain with them, first I'd like to have our flowers find a home. Write down April 11th if you would like to bring your high schooler, your middle schooler, who can handle this, niece, nephew, somebody's best friend. Encourage your friends, encourage any family members. We will go ahead and have this posted on our PIN website before April 11th, so that if you know someone who didn't make it today and they're trying to figure out whether to come with their kid, they could listen to it. Okay, so check our website towards the end of the week. And if you borrowed a pen, will you please bring it back? Since we're meeting again on April 11th, we want everybody to have pens. Please bring it back and put it to the back of the room. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think so. Is it April 11th, this same presentation, but with teenagers?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. There will be a few more elements that we add that are speaking specifically to teenagers, and we'll work on instead of the Mad Libs, we'll do a little bit more of a back and forth kind of, like there'll be opportunities to have some conversation in private, like not big group conversations with your kids. Oh yeah, and if you don't have a kid, or if there's someone that you think would enjoy this talk, they can still come. You don't have to have a kid to come to it.
All righty. Flowers.
All right. So we have 4 arrangements.